Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's virtual workshop. I'm Marcy Burton with NSF International, and we're excited to see so many of you joining us today. Looks like we've companies from a wide range of product types and businesses. We have some pre-revenue, some recently launched, and some well-established brands. We're here today to talk about optimizing your branding and packaging and what role certifications play in that. There's really something here to learn for everyone today. We are NSF and QAI. We are organic and natural product industry experts specializing in quality assurance and label claim certifications. And today we're joined by our friends and colleagues from the Gro Agency. The Gro Agency specializes in brand strategy and packaging design, and they've been in the CPG space for over 30 years. We've partnered to talk about how branding, packaging, and certifications intersect to create a strategic connection with consumers for products in the natural channel. Now I'd like to turn it over to the co-presenters today to introduce themselves.
Hi, I'm Kelly Criswell. I'm the Chief Creative Officer at the Gro Agency.
Hello, everyone. I'm Danielle Muller. I'm the Chief of Strategy at the Gro Agency.
Hi, everyone. I'm Lauren Browning, a Business Development Manager with QAI, and I help brands navigate the certification process to get USDA organic, certified transitional, and regenerative organic logos on your packaging.
And it's me again, Marcy Burton with NSF International. I work with our Consumer Values Verified team on our portfolio of certification offerings. So today, just as an overview, we'll get the workshop started with the Gro Agency and brand strategy and packaging design. And then QAI and NSF will discuss the certification and the process to achieve those certifications. And then the Gro Agency is going to give live feedback on some packages that were submitted. And then we should have some time for questions and answers. So let's get started with Danielle from the Gro Agency.
Hello again. So I firstly just want to thank Marcy for that really polished and impressive introduction to the webinar. I take a little bit of a casual approach, so we're going to wing it together on this portion. I am Chief of Strategy for the Gro Agency, which means that I oversee everything strategic from business strategy for our agency internally to brand strategy for our clients. Brand strategy and business strategy, of course, being different, but overlapping here and there. And so I'm going to take you through the first couple of slides and then turn it over to my colleague, Kelly. We wanted to come talk to you about connection being key. More than ever, connecting authentically with the consumer is really important. And you have to think really carefully and really strategically about your brand, which includes what you're saying and what you're claiming and whether you certify. So we're going to talk about branding in general. How do you develop a brand? How does your brand impact your packaging? And then we're also going to talk about what natural means and, how are you communicating in the natural channel with authenticity and differentiating yourself, since there is a lot of noise around natural currently. So there's some misunderstanding about what branding or brand strategy is. It's not your logo. It's no single thing. It's not your design. Your brand is really the intersection between what your product does and how your business makes people feel. So it's a conversation that you're having with your consumer, and it requires nurturing, and it requires careful thought. So once you've established that intersection, once you've established the foundation for the rest of your brand architecture, which includes, being really clear about who you're talking to and what you're saying, then you take that information and you look at that information in the context of the buying environment, whether that buying environment is the grocery shelf or your website, D2C, Amazon perhaps, And the intersection of those two things illuminates your packaging strategy, and that's where your visual identity is born. And to note, typically consumers make buying decisions at shelf in 7 seconds or less, and now, obviously, that's even shorter. So you really want to use that small amount of time wisely. So you have to have your message really well distilled. We decided that what we wanted to do with you today was actually build a brand at a high level, of course, because we don't have that much time, but we wanted to pull the curtain back and take you through our process for building a brand. So that's what we're going to do. We gave ourselves an assignment. We decided that we were going to create brand strategy and packaging design for an invented, a made-up, healthy, kid-friendly cookie mix. So here is where we start. We start with an audit, both a packaging audit and a brand audit. So we're looking at everything in the competitive space. Typically, we visit grocery stores and we take pictures. That is obviously not recommended currently, though you have access to everything you need online. So you can Google the next bullet, Google your category and target retailers. So not only do you want to be Googling your competition, you want to be looking at your target retailers and what their brand represents and how they interact with their consumers, because you want to appeal to them and you want to provide value for their conversation they're having with their consumer. So you look at all of the competition. If you have a printer, you can print out examples of the various packaging. You could create a Pinterest board. You could use Canva, which is an easy graphic design tool. You just want to get all of those images in one place so you can look at them together. And then you're going to create a visual map of that competition. We will show you an example of that in a second. So in addition to looking at them, you want to audit what they're saying, the personality, the feeling tone, what they stand for. You want to look at all of the messaging and all of the visual language that is out in your space and make sure that you're finding white space to occupy. And you want to document all of your findings in a visual way so that you can analyze them comprehensively and you have everything in one space to refer back to. This is the lineup of the competition for our healthy, kid-friendly cookie mix. So we took these images and we arranged them on a map. So we chose the access points of the map. You can make those whatever you want. It could be, affordable to premium. It could be low sugar, high sugar, whatever it is, however you want to map your competition. So we pulled out the cookie mixes and we arranged them on this grid to represent where they fall in the realm of healthy and playful, because our concept is to create an interactive cookie mix that parents and kids can bond over, and that is going to encourage kids to eat healthier treats because they've made them themselves. So we see that we have a bunch of competition in the super healthy but very practical, not appealing to the recreation part, not appealing to the kid necessarily. And then we have competition in the less healthy and also very practical, very conventional looking. And then we do have some competition in the healthier and sort of more playful area. But again, no one is positioned to appeal to kids as an activity, to appeal to kids and to parents as an activity. So we're targeting the parents. We want them to buy in because the kids want it, and also because as any other parents on the line know, it's hard to make time to bond with your kids. And if you have a really easy recreation that's going to yield a healthy cookie, everybody gets jazzed. Oh, and by the way, so if we were to mark our grid with an X, it would be in the very top right corner. So that's where we are hoping to land. That's our white space. So now we get into creating the brand strategy, the foundation for the architecture of your brand. So that's both how it sounds and how it looks. So we have to really dig in and know who our target market is. That requires being specific, which is very, very hard to do when you're inside the brand. When you're too close to it, you obviously, you see all of the possible benefits and attributes, and it's very easy to think, well, this, that, and the other connects to everyone. Everybody will. There's something in this for everybody. We hear that all the time, which is fine and may or may not be true. But the truth is, from a marketing standpoint, that is not resonant and is not effective. So what you want to do is you want to identify the earliest adopters of your product. So your product is solving a problem. Who is it solving that problem for first? Who is going to rush out to buy your products first? And that's your target audience. That audience is going to grow organically, of course, but that's who you want to hone in on in doing this work. And you want to distill that solution. So you really want to very, very easily communicate what your value proposition is, how you are supporting the consumer, what you are doing for the consumer. And a mistake we often see is people focusing too much on attributes and expecting the consumer to translate that attribute into the benefit for them. You have to really bring that benefit to life. Based on that, you want to craft your brand voice and personality, and you want to keep in mind being authentic to yourself if you're a founder, or to the brand, the historic established brand if you're working as a brand manager. But you also want to make sure that that authenticity is framed in a way that connects with your target market. So you want to find the sweet spot between what your target market wants to hear and what's authentic for your brand. It's really important, particularly today with what's going on in the world, to define your company values beyond what you're selling. So consumers really want, particularly in the natural channel, they really want to identify with brands, and they really want to buy brands that appeal to their values. And so you need to look at what you stand for in the world beyond just being a product. And we're going to get into some specifics on this in a second so you can see what I mean. And then, of course, you want to identify relevant claims and certifications. You want to be very careful to choose the claims and certifications that are most central to your consumers' needs and put those right on the front of the pack. And you also want to be very careful not to put too much on the front of the pack. So it's really important to identify, again, the target, who you're talking to and what they need, and then how you can best serve those needs. And, the other way to look at it is we all, participating in the natural space, we all have an opportunity to impact our community. And one of the ways that we can do that is by, calling attention to our food systems and, making the effort or taking the step to certify, to engage in that process. Lastly, for brand strategy, you have to translate all of this information, this point of view, if you will, into visual language, or at least into something that inspires your designer, whether it's an agency. In this model, for this talk, we are assuming that you're working maybe with a freelancer. Maybe they have packaging experience, maybe they don't. This applies across an early stage business and an established large CPG company, because it's always good to revisit these fundamentals and have them in your mind when considering next steps. But so you want to create a mood board that captures the brand strategy and translates it into visual cues. And you want to pull examples of all kinds of things that resonate with you and inspire you, but you want to make sure that you're looking at it through the lens of what communicates your brand, not just what you like, but what you imagine ties in well with your brand strategy. And of course, that is going to be a collaborative process ultimately that you're going to engage with your designer or design team on. So these are the building blocks of a brand. This is very, very high level, of course. What we start with are the functional and emotional attributes. We really want to get to what is the emotional payoff. What do these all add up to? What is the emotional payoff for the consumer? What's the brand promise? What are we promising the consumer? What are we delivering? What kind of personality is going to best express that? So we really want to personify your brand. We want to give it qualities and give it a voice. We want to find adjectives that really, clearly articulate what you think your brand looks like and sounds like. And then ultimately you distill all of that work, which obviously there's a lengthy process behind that we can't go into today, but webinars to come, further webinars to come. So you distill those blocks and you arrive at what your brand essence is, and that is typically 2 to 3 words that sum up your brand, the heart of your brand, the soul of your brand, if you will. So it's not describing the most important attributes or the function of your brand. It's really describing the soul, that difficult, intangible quality that you want to get across that's going to emotionally connect with your consumer. And of course, you want to be really specific, as I said, about target audience. And just a note, it's very, very difficult to be objective about these things when you are inside your brand. And that's one of the reasons why agencies are so beneficial, but that could just as easily be a trusted friend or colleague. You just want to make sure that you have objective eyes on everything. Even for us inside the world of branding, to do our own brand positioning also requires objective eyes. You really need to have someone who's not living inside the brand. So this is an example of a brand wheel. This is a very easy to digest document that gives you all of the key elements of a brand. So this is very useful to hand off to, let's say, a social media agency, some kind of external partner where they haven't gone through the whole process with you, but it's important that they fully understand what you are trying to express in the market. So you start by identifying the target audience, which for us is, busy parents and kids. So we want to target the parents and the kids. I'm going to go through this at a pretty high level, but obviously you'll have access to this later and you can go back and read through everything in detail. And then you want to identify the need state for that target audience. So I'm looking for projects to do with my kids. I want my kids to enjoy healthy treats. I want to empower my kids to be independent and learn new things. As a parent, this really resonates with me. I don't have time personally to crack that old cookbook open and, get all of the ingredients together. It seems like a very easy off-the-shelf activity I can do with my kid. And the added bonus is it has less sugar and it's organic and it's healthier. And so the emotional payoff is feeling like a good parent. Now, the brand feeling tone, which is slightly different, is joy and empowerment. And that's targeting both the parent and the child, right? Because as a result of participating in this project, using this product, both the parent and the kid are going to feel empowered and are going to feel a sense of joy and a sense of connection. So the brand personality is whimsical, resourceful, inclusive, inventive. Our brand mission, and of course this is beyond the product that we're selling, is to make it easier for busy parents to connect with their kids over trustworthy treats, which is something that is sort of inspiring. It gives us like a larger overarching goal. And our values are: we innovate, we balance convenience with responsibility, we are socially and environmentally responsible, we make time for fun and self-care, we reflect and grow. So those values speak to what is at the heart of who we want to be in the world and the impact that we want to make in the world, not just on our category, not just, with our product, but we're creating something larger with that. So now we have our brand strategy. So we know who we are, we know what we provide, we know what's different about us. This particular project doesn't have a name yet. You may already have a name, and that's fine. Everything can be reverse engineered, or you could call that name into question and do some more investigation around it. Either way. But we don't have a name yet. So this is, if you don't have a name yet, you want to look at, does it connect? Is it memorable? Is it easy to pronounce? Say it out loud. Does it allow room for growth and diversification? One of the things we see with emerging brands sometimes is they're creating a product based on a new ingredient, and they name it after the ingredient, and then they're stuck. So for example, if you've created a turmeric lemonade, let's say, and that's going to be the core of your business, these different flavored turmeric lemonades, and you become incredibly successful. And now you need to extend your line, and you decide you're going to create a cinnamon root beer, but you've named your product Turmeric Bliss. Turmeric Bliss doesn't give you a lot of room to move away from turmeric. So you want to be very careful to choose a name to really consider your long-term plan before choosing a name. You, of course, want to make sure that you can trademark it. Very, very important. That requires an attorney, but you can do some, some starter research. There is a website, TESS. You can go to the trademark website and do a cursory search of live and inactive trademarks. Lastly, but very important, does it pass the following screenings, both search engine and connotation in foreign language? So you do not want to choose a name in a vacuum. You want to make sure that you Google that name to death. You want to look at everything else that is associated with that name in the space, in the world of the internet, to make sure that you're not choosing a name that is going to bring something up right next to your website that is, unattractive to your target market. And the same thing goes for foreign language. There are a lot of brands that are named in other countries and come here and have a slightly different meaning and do not come across well, and that can be a challenge. So you want to just look at both of those things. So for our, and you know what I didn't do? I'm going to take you back for a second. What I didn't do was say one of the most important things, which is the brand essence, which is connection through recreation. Connection through recreation sums up what this brand is trying to do with the product. So keep that in mind as we go back to the naming. So we came up with a list of names: Jane Doe, Do-si-do, Bacon Bond, Whisket. All of those names are perfectly appropriate. We initially went with Jane Doe because we thought we were so clever. Well, Jane Doe is trademarked, so that was off the list. Then we went down through the others, and we settled on Do-si-do. Why did we settle on Do-si-do? Because, first of all, it's really fun to say. It's extremely memorable. It rolls off the tongue. And it completely captures the brand essence, connection through recreation. So that's the one we went with. I'm sure we'll hear from you later if you agree. Oh, and that is the end of my presentation. I'm going to introduce Kelly, who is our Chief Creative at the Gro Agency, and she's going to talk to you about translating all of this strategy into visual identity and packaging design. Kelly, take it away.
Thank you, and thanks everybody for coming. Okay, so we created all these great checklists. Feel free to use them. We kind of go back and use them throughout our process too. So the goal of the mood board is to kind of align with your designers, whether it be an agency or freelance designers, on the visual direction. Because what you don't want is to have a first round of design come back to you and you're very surprised at the direction that they took, right? So you want to get on the same page in advance. And you can do this exercise yourself. You can also have your designers do one as well, and you guys can collaborate on that. So we say Pinterest is your BFF because Pinterest is accessible to everyone, and it's really easy to use. So you want to look for color palettes, font styles, design styles, look at examples of other packaging that you like, graphics, fonts, etc. But you want to always make sure if you're doing this that you're going back to your brand essence. You're going back to, in this case, connection through recreation. And most important on this is to be really specific about why you have chosen what you've chosen. So maybe you've chosen a package that you really like, but actually all you like is the logo. Or maybe you like the color palette. Or maybe you just like how it makes you feel. Or you like the connotations that go around that. So be really specific about the reasons why you've selected the things that you've selected, and communicate that out to your team. So here is the mood board we put together for Do-si-do. We picked fonts, colors, illustration styles, things that we felt were in line with the brand essence. And then we move on to packaging design. So This is a really handy checklist. We use this throughout the design process. We refer back to it often. I think it's a good place to go back to ground where you're going with your packaging design. So at any point during the process, go back and see if your packaging is doing this. So these are the things that your packaging should be accomplishing. It should visually communicate the brand positioning. That's number one. It should immediately and intuitively differentiate your brand. So the shopper, the consumer, should know immediately when they see your packaging why your brand is different from the competition. It should communicate taste appeal and or functional benefits, depending on your product. It should create an emotional connection with your target consumer. So make sure you're speaking the visual language that resonates with that target consumer. And if you're doing all those things, it will guide consumer purchase decisions in 7 seconds or less. So this has to work really, really quickly. So I'm going to take you through some examples of how we visually communicate brand essence. The first one, top left, and these are all pretty small brands from start to finish. So the top left one is called Simple Life. This is a line of CBD teas and waters. Their brand essence is good vibes. So that's how you're supposed to feel when you experience their brand. So all the graphic choices we made when we created this are about conveying that brand essence of good vibes. So color palette, fonts, illustration, the hierarchy, all of that is about achieving this feeling of good vibes. The next brand is called Doozy Pots. They're a line of hemp desserts. Their brand essence is magical alchemy, and we've kind of embodied that idea in this female scientist character with this magical hair happening. Again, the fonts, colors, graphics, everything are kind of in service to this idea of magical alchemy. And I want to note here, too, that all of these brands are natural brands, and they all have many claims that they could make. They have lots of functional benefits. They have lots of great things about them. But you can't say everything on the front of pack loudly and big. You really have to pick and focus. Otherwise, your message gets really diluted. You don't want the shopper to have to navigate a million claims. You really kind of lose them. So, in this process, you've already done the brand strategy work to really focus on what your most important thing is. And you want in your packaging design to be screaming that from the rooftop. The goal here is that the front of the pack is so cool and so interesting and so unique and speaking the language of the target consumer that the target picks them up, looks at the back, and then they get to read through all your awesome claims and see all the great benefits and all the, beautiful maybe founder story or whatever you have on the back. But again, the goal is to just catch the person in that 7 seconds or less so they pick up your product and then they can turn it around and read all the good stuff you have to say. So the next one is Solum Agua Fresca. This brand is all about the jubilant creator, so we embody that with this kind of godlike mascot on the front of the pack. And the purpose of that was really to differentiate this brand from the competition, which was all very claim-focused, very functional beverages. And Have a Ball, also a lot of claims that they could make. It's a really great, healthy, functional product. But we chose to differentiate them by pushing the brand personality versus the product benefits. And in this case, we really picked and chose the claims that we put on the front of the pack. Those claims serve to accentuate the fact that this is a healthy, natural product without hitting people over the head with it. Another note I'll make here is when I assess packaging, I always think one of the first things I go through is what can you remove? So you want to keep it really simple. You want the shopper to do as little work as possible to navigate through, the claims and through the communication. You want them to understand quickly what this product is, who it's for, why do I need it. So we start off with logos, but I will say that we look at logos with the first round of packaging design because I think it's important to see the logo on its own off the pack and also on the package. Sometimes you can get a great logo that looks wonderful on its own, but as soon as you put it on a package, it doesn't quite work the way you thought. So here is a first round. don't be scared of a first round. So when you're working with an agency or a design team or a freelancer, a first round is always a little bit rough, always a little bit kind of spur of the moment sometimes. And I think the beauty of this process is the collaboration between the design team and the founder or the brand manager. So in this case, these are 3 different ways that we chose to interpret the brand essence of connection through recreation. And since we did this internally, we're the client and we're also the designers, and we did this in about a week. So we played devil's advocate and said, okay, cool, here it is. We like option 2 and 3. We think they're all a little bit busy. Some of the colors could be tweaked. Number 3, the logo isn't quite working. And so through that conversation, we narrowed it down to 2 designs. Both designs are valid ways to approach the brand essence. So how do you choose, right? This happens all the time where there are kind of two final designs. It's hard to choose. So there are different things you can do. You can do some kind of down and dirty testing. If you don't have a lot of resources for that, you can do pretty simple Survey Monkey type of stuff, or you can do real consumer testing, which costs money. And since we did this all on our own in a week, we asked our own kids, which, by the way, I do not recommend because they can be really harsh. However, we asked our own kids, and we still had a split team. Half the people really loved option 1, half the people really loved option 2. So in this case, which by the way happens all the time too, both fit the strategy, both fit the communication. So how do you choose? We chose this design, and I'll tell you why. Of the 2 designs, this one most quickly and most intuitively said what it is and who it's for. Remember, you only have 7 seconds in retail environment, sometimes less time than that if you're in e-com, and that quick clarity is really important. So, at this point for the final design, we decide what claims are the most important and, what claims would resonate the most with our target and would convey that this brand is natural without having to say it in too many words. And we do refinements, simplify the design, update the logo, update the colors to make it really pop and differentiate on shelf. And then when you're done and you've got your final design ready, it's time for mechanical production. So this is just a checklist. Some designers really know this stuff well. An agency will probably know most of this, and some don't. So I think, the main thing here is to really connect with your print vendor. Make sure that they've looked at the art, that your designer is doing things within the specs that they need. Make sure that it's an ongoing conversation. And always, always, always get a proof. You want to make sure there are no surprises. You don't want to all of a sudden have a bunch of bags printed that the color is not what you were expecting. So always get a proof. Here's what a mechanical looks like for those of you who have never seen that. Obviously this is just one type. And, you spend some time with the front and the back of pack. You make sure the back of pack resonates the same way that the front does. You've got all your claims, all your instructions back there. And I believe that is it. I will turn it over to Marcy.
Yes, thank you, Kelly. I don't mind if I do-si-do. That's what you call a virtual do-si-do as you pass it off to your partner round and round. So thank you. That was great. So now we understand that a brand is not simply your logo or your color palette, and it's really the strategic foundation that you build those things on. And your brand impacts your packaging. It helps you design the right logo, the right color, the right design, and also the right certification. And that's where we come in. So QAI and NSF, we're sister companies, and we operate under the same umbrella. Together we manage a portfolio of label claims with our Consumer Values Verified team. And it's what we do. We ensure the consumer's values are verified. We work with brands to achieve certifications that best enhance your brand story or your brand essence, really that meets the values of your target consumer and help your product stand out in their category. Certification logos are really a visual representation of branding, as they quickly and simply communicate your brand values and your product values through a quick on-package certification logo or proof point. These proof points, we say, really support your brand story and to confirm that your product fits your target consumers' needs, preferences, and whether those are dietary, religious, lifestyle, or concerns about sustainable and humane sourcing, or really the desire to avoid certain chemicals or genetically modified ingredients. And our portfolio here, I've listed a few. So we do certified organic, certified transitional, regenerative organic. We have our ANSI 305, which is organic for personal care products, certified plant-based. We do the NSF non-GMO as well as the non-GMO project or the butterfly logo, and gluten-free, raised without antibiotics. We've got kosher, as well as our NSF certified for sport program through our dietary supplements team. And you may see some of these as you've been shopping.
So the first step to determining which label claims are right for you is by defining your brand values and identifying your target audience. And once you have this defined, you'll be able to choose what packaging claims can clearly communicate these values. You need to do the work to identify and articulate what your brand is, what you offer, and what the problem is that you're solving. Once you have a clear understanding of who you are and what your values are, then you make business decisions, including which certifications demonstrate those values in the market. Natural consumers today are looking for products that resonate with their values, and on an emotional level, they want to feel better, do better, and be better. Consumers are really seeking a connection, and brand packaging quickly connects your product to the consumer. So as you distill the singular solution or unique value proposition that your product provides to the consumer market and do the right thing for your company, you define your brand values and attributes. You want to make sure you choose wisely, define your specific target's values, and then align with your company values. Certified organic is just one of the great examples of companies' values aligning with consumers' desires to be socially and environmentally responsible. And at the shelf, organic guides parents to select good-for-you products. Like many certifications, organic dives into your supply chain, the ingredients that you choose to make your products, how they're sourced, how they're grown, and how you bring them together in a facility that has the required compliance components to meet the standard of identity for organic. Organic is definitely a commitment, and a product making an organic claim must be at least 95% certified organic content, with the remaining 5% ingredients that are on a specific approved ingredient list. The power of organic is real, and the payoff happens at the shelf, and the process is worth it. Organic defines your brand as being part of the solution, supporting health of people and planet, healthy soil, and climate change. For brands today, transparency is not optional. It is the expectation. Selecting and earning the right certifications, the ones that matter most to you and your consumers, is a clear and visible signal that you're walking your talk. And the claims that you're making on your package are true and accurate. So on this slide, you'll see another example with one of our clients, Kashi, which is a different certification that we do. This is a QAI certified transitional product, and one of the things that came about with Kashi is that they recognize that the transitional period from going from conventional production in the field on the farm to becoming certified organic was actually a barrier. And so they were all about helping demonstrate the value of those farmers transitioning, and they even developed a whole packaging and brand system around supporting the transition from conventional agriculture to organic. And something that really resonated with me, and I'm sure most of their consumers, is this packaging on the back and the farmer's story on the whole back panel. The story tells the story of the farmer and why certified transitional is necessary and how this product is helping grow the values of increasing organic acreage in the U.S. This farmer on the back here is just your average Midwestern farmer, but after Kashi released this product line, he ended up receiving a ton of fan mail and turned into a modern-day legend because of what he was doing. It really was a brilliant strategy, and Kashi shared with us that this helped revitalize the brand and recommit them to their consumer values, and they saw a significant growth with both their consumer and retail sales. Something that you also want to keep in mind is that retailers find value in sharing these stories within the company and their shoppers. So while you navigate the marketplace and identify your consumer targets and values, keep in mind that as retailers select products for their shelves, they are choosing products that align with their target consumers. And many retailers, like Whole Foods, require these claims to be validated by a third-party certification. Dave's Killer Bread is a company that was one of the first to the market with an organic claim and is still a leader in this category. Their certifications on package quickly and simply signify natural by being organic and non-GMO. Each certification has a standard or protocol that defines what it means to make these claims, but our team of experts at QAI and NSF can help you navigate the regulatory requirements, and you can also find additional trainings and webinars on our website to learn the specifics. Or you can simply just reach out to myself or Marcy. The quote here from Dave speaks to the point of how they have benefited from having a trusted partner to navigate them through the certification process to demonstrate that compliance.
Thanks, Lauren. Yeah, so consumers today are really looking for products that align with their needs. And as Gro mentioned, you must know your target consumer. What consumer are you talking to? And really, what do they want to hear? So I can talk about a lot of various certifications that NSF offers. You know, I've mentioned we have non-GMO project, gluten-free, made with true source honey. And really, we saw those logos a few slides back. But the most fun one today, really the hottest category, is the plant-based program. So NSF is very happy to have partnered with the Plant-Based Foods Association to launch a brand new program in the last year or so called the Certified Plant-Based Program. And many of you have seen the news on the incredible growth, innovation, and variety in this category. And really the growth in demand and interest with the mainstream consumer for these plant-based alternatives to dairy, meat, and fish products. And that's it. Products that are eligible for this certification are meat, egg, and dairy alternative products. The certified plant-based seal defines what the food is made of, namely plants, while still being 100% free of animal ingredients. So some facts for you. About 4% of consumers identify as vegan, while 29% of consumers identify as flexitarian. So they're willing to try multiple categories. And really the Plant-Based Foods Association is doing a great job in breaking in this category into the mainstream with mainstream consumers. And they've recently partnered with Kroger by putting these plant-based alternatives right into the cold case, into the meat department, the dairy section, and they're tracking the growth of these sales and driving interest into these categories. Now, Danielle and Kelly, they've really touched on the 7-second rule. They have 7 seconds to grab the attention of the average consumer while they're browsing the market. And really, the branding is the sexy, fun thing to talk about with your packaging. Really, these logos, these seals or marks, they're an instant way to communicate to consumers quickly, simply, what their values are, what they're looking for. And plant-based is really just a great example of that communication with the consumer. Now, Tofurky here was one of the early adopters of the certified plant-based seal, and they're proud to be partnering with the Plant-Based Foods Association on this program. And as quoted here, they're giving consumers the confidence they need in purchasing 100% plant-based foods. When you have these products like these meat alternatives that really look, taste, and cook like meat, really that's fantastic because it drives more interest in a plant-based agricultural system, if that's what you're into. And really consumers are eating and trying these options. So a mark like this can easily communicate that you're meeting their value choice. And if they're choosing that for environmental reasons or dietary reasons, they really don't have to get stuck reading the fine print on every package. The logo says it.
Thanks, Marcy. Now let's get into a little bit about the actual certification process. So NSF and QAI work really hard to simplify our standards and make it easy for clients to navigate the process. This slide pretty much outlines the process from start to finish. And we have a large pool of experienced auditors and reviewers. What we'll do is review your products and manufacturing facilities to ensure that compliance to a chosen certification standard is there. And for some certifications, a desk audit, which means reviewing documentation such as formulas, facility handling plans, ingredients, and labels is sufficient. And for other certifications such as organic, we require on-site audits to ensure that the paperwork matches processes at the facility. So things like traceability of ingredients through the supply chain and segregation and clean-out practices in the manufacturing facility will be checked. If your business is working in a shared kitchen space or using a contract manufacturer, that's never a problem, and we can certainly guide you through that process as well. So we're also able to bundle certifications and perform more than one audit per visit when clients are getting multiple certifications. So for example, if you wanted to pursue both non-GMO and organic, we would be able to bundle those services together. And next, Marcy will take you through the process for plant-based products.
Yes, the plant-based process is really quite simple. It's one of the desk audit reviews that Lauren mentioned. So we would pair you with an account manager. We're going to collect information mostly on the formulas to confirm that they're animal-free, they're equivalent to the vegan certification. The review process goes to our technical team. There's no on-site audit. Again, we're just really evaluating the formulas to confirm animal-free and plant-based. So as we mentioned, we do manage a large portfolio of label claims certifications, and we're experts in the regulations and requirements. So we're happy to work with you to see if you're eligible or your products meet those requirements, what you need to do to get there. When a brand decides to pursue more than one certification, we can be a one-stop source, but as Lauren mentioned, we can also bundle those audits, and there are discounts for bundling. But we're also truly dedicated to making it easier for smaller brands to successfully enter the natural and organic market. And we do have a small business discount as well as small business fee schedules for organic. Now, you may be wondering, what if I have multiple certifications or attributes that I want to highlight, but I don't want to obscure the great packaging design? Really, I think the important message is to really design the package so that it's intriguing enough and it calls out to your consumer that you have as a great design, that it's functional and strategic, like do-si-do, be so great that consumers pick up that package and turn that package round and round to do-si-do to read the additional attributes and story on the back of the package. And now, for the fun part, we're going to go into a bit of show and tell. So we had a great amount of submitted packages. So we've chosen a few that we're going to go through today. Really, the Gro Agency is going to drive this with some feedback. And then at the end, we should have some time for questions and answers. Go ahead and use the chat box. If we don't get to your question, we'll certainly reach out to you, and our emails will be at the end of the presentation as well.
Cool. So this is Kelly again. I'm assuming that I'm just going to launch into it, yeah?
Unless I interrupt you.
I'll take that as a yes. Cool. So we just looked at these real briefly, but Sandhill wild rice. So really looks totally different from other rice that I've seen before, which I'm really into. It looks very premium, looks really high quality. At first glance, I thought it was a bag of coffee, so I am very appreciative of the fact that you put wild rice really large. I think the only thing that I'm curious about is the line across the package, which kind of feels like I'm not sure, maybe a mistake or maybe crossing out the brand. And I wonder if this would be recessive on shelf. I am not sure. I would want to see this on shelf with all the other rice and see what that looks like, or in an e-com setting. Anything you want to add, Danielle?
No, you covered it. I agree. It's beautiful. I would worry that it was recessive, though. Would have to see it in context. And yeah, that line to me, and this is something really interesting to consider. To me, that line intuitively conjures this idea of no, don't. Don't pick me up, negating the brand. So I would take a second look at that.
Exactly. Oh, there's the back. Beautiful. Okay. Okay. So I got to say, when I first looked at this, I was confused because Genius Juice is that coconut water with the Einstein image on it, and I couldn't figure out what this was. And then I saw that the brand was Wish Garden. And by the way, I have 2 bottles of Wish Garden in my cabinet right now. So it is ridiculous that I was confused about this product. So that's kind of my criticism here. This product is amazing, and I know Danielle loves Wish Garden.
If I can interrupt, I immediately knew it was you, Wish Garden, but I'm not getting enough information right here quickly enough, and I'll let Kelly continue.
Yeah, no, that was pretty much it. The confusion over the brand got me. But it's such a strong product. I would love to see the communication tweaked a little bit, the brand pushed a little bit, so that I understood exactly what I was looking at quickly. Okay.
Hey,
Sprout.
Just to interrupt real quick.
I will.
So a comment back
Sorry,
on the Sandhill rice. Can you explain what recessive means?
Sure. So if I saw this in a setting with a bunch of other wild rice with big bombastic bold lettering or big graphics or whatever, would I, as I'm looking through the shelf, just pass this over and not notice it? Would it stand out enough? Maybe and maybe not. I'm not sure. It depends on what the rest of the category looks like. And I can't think, I think Lund Garden is the only one I can conjure up in my mind right now. But if everything else is black, for example, in the category, this white might really stand out. If there's a bunch of recessive looking packages that are all kind of quiet, that's one thing. So to me, when I say recessive, I mean it's quiet. It might not catch my attention.
It's easy to pass over. Yeah.
Okay, right. So it's really, as you mentioned earlier, to really look at what's in your category.
Yes, exactly. That's what the
And I do want to say one thing about Wish Garden before we move on. Perfect. So I did recognize you because I am really intimately involved with your brand. You are a trusted brand for me. I am so impressed with your product. But I'll say, I passed your product on the grocery shelf many, many times, and the only reason I tried you is because you handed me a sample at Expo, I think it was Expo.
Yes.
And I was so impressed with what it did, I held on to it and went to the store with the sample bottle to find it again. But your branding in general is not super identifiable. That's all I wanted to say. It's not terrible. I love you with all of my heart, but it's not super easy to connect with and retain. It took me a long time to remember your name, that kind of thing.
Yep. We definitely want to clarify here that we love all the brands and we salute all those that were brave to submit their packages for this feedback.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's our job to be brutally honest, and again, it's just our opinion. So please don't misunderstand us. We tend to, for expediency, we tend to go right to the heart of it. But there are things we love about all of these packages.
Yep. Sprout. So what I love about this package is the photography because it's super unique and different and fun. I've not seen photography exactly like that. But it kind of gets lost in the busyness of all the communication going on the front of pack. So I would recommend trying to really focus in on that and clean it up a bit so that the fun elements could come through. I'm also curious, and I don't know if Sprout's on the phone right now. I'm curious if this is targeting adults or kids. But beyond that, I would recommend finding the unique value prop, as Danielle had talked about earlier, and really focusing in on that. And maybe really playing up that fun photography. Or maybe once you do a little strategy work, you'll find there's something different to focus on. Do you have anything to add?
Nope, I think you got it.
Cool. Pop Karma. To me, the
question
branding,
about this one.
Yeah. Yeah. The branding isn't coming across as well as I would like, although this is very well executed, this design. I think the hierarchy maybe needs a little bit of adjustment. It looks like this is a mission-driven brand, but I'm not sure what the story is behind that. And I know Danielle had some questions, too, about this particular one.
Yeah, I just wanted to point out that I looked at this really closely, which, of course, if I was a consumer, I wouldn't be looking at it as closely. And I saw 2 times antioxidants, and it made me wonder why. Where do the antioxidants come from? Do they come from the Himalayan sea salt, and is that why it's so big? Because if the assumption is that the consumer is going to make that connection, it's inaccurate. We are not. My husband is an herbalist. I know a lot about that kind of stuff. Well, I know more than the average Joe, and I didn't make that connection. In fact, I'm still not sure, and I would love for someone to chat out what it's about. But I also think Pop Karma is a really good name, and I think that your packaging does not take your brand essence, as I imagine it would end up being, as far as it could. And you could really differentiate. Popcorn's hard to differentiate with, but you really did choose a good name, and you really could take it further, and you could definitely play up that social mission, and I'm really curious to know what the antioxidant thing is about.
Totally. Station Cold Brew. Love this product also. Delicious. So the good things going on here are that you can immediately tell this is a cold brew because you guys are using all the visual cues for the category. So like even from a tiny, tiny distance, I could tell that this is a cold brew package. And that's also kind of the bad news too. It looks like all the cold brews out there. So to me, I would want to focus on differentiating within the category while still maintaining that clear cold brew association. That's the tricky thing about new categories or relatively new categories. I know cold brew has been around for a little while now, but even in the kombucha category, there's kind of a look and feel to kombucha. Specifically, CBD beverages, right? They have a lot of cues in common. All the CBD beverages kind of have some traits that they share, so you can immediately tell the CBD beverage. So that's both helpful and, as a category gets older, sort of harmful because now you're kind of lumped in with everybody else, looking similar to everybody else. That's my 2 cents. Danielle, anything to add there?
I do not, though I want to say you guys might be reading the chat, we just found out that popcorn has 2 times as many antioxidants as the average serving of fruits and vegetables. I did not know that. I know. Anyway, thank you for sharing.
Blew my mind. Wow. Now I want that popcorn. Cool. Okay. OTs. I love your window. It's so fun.
I do too.
I think it's a really cool take on a window. I think, again, I'm not sure how this is differentiated against other teas, what makes this tea specifically unique. I would love to see some, I think should you do some, brand strategy work around your brand, you could really figure out what makes you different and then kind of focus on that in the package because that's not coming through quickly to me.
Yeah, I also want to say that, and this might be, I haven't done an audit of this space, though I do drink a lot of tea. Plastic-free is really compelling to me. And, the tea bag, the form that you're putting your tea into is really interesting to me on the consumer side, or, being a branding person. And I would maybe integrate that into your brand. But yeah, I agree with Kelly. I like your logo a lot. I love that window. I definitely don't hate your design. I'm just not sure I really get to know who you are. I'm not sure what really makes you different.
Yeah. And this is Lauren. I just wanted to add one thing to this. I like the branding a lot, but something that you definitely want to look into before you get your packaging printed is if the claims that you're making on the packaging are regulated. So like for this one, it says organic lemongrass. And that's a statement that has to be certified. So you can't just say organic on the packaging without getting that actual product certified organic. So
yeah, good
something
call.
to just be very cautious about.
And also another thing to be aware of, and we didn't say this earlier, but when you're choosing a design partner, if you're choosing a freelancer, make sure it's a freelancer that has some packaging experience, particularly in food and bev, because that's, I don't know if a freelancer would realize that, but that is something that we would advise you on if you were working with us on the, being cautious about using things like organic without being certified.
Yep. Okay. It's jerky, y'all. It's so fun. I love it. Yeah, this feels really unique in the category. I've not seen anything exactly like this. It's doing a lot of the things that we discussed, like pushing personality forward. I think it's super fun. One thing I would wonder, you do have a back of pack. Let's see that. Cute. Good. So you've got some good copy, good story stuff. One thing I would, just from my own preferences, I would love a window. Maybe not on the front of pack, maybe on the back of pack, because especially with a plant-based jerky, I'm interested to see what it looks like. I want to know what I'm getting myself into when I pick up one of these bags. And sometimes jerky does not look super appetizing and looks weird. So that's why I suggest back of pack. Oh, and there's a comment. Window will kill shelf life. Never mind. Great package. Any comments, Danielle?
Yeah, I just wanted to say I love it. I agree. I think the colors do a really good job of intuitively communicating natural, and I like the branding so much. My one call out would be, do you want to say what it's made out of on front of pack, right? Because I immediately want to know plant-based. Well, what kind of plant-based? But maybe not. Maybe you've done the brand strategy and decided against that. I definitely wouldn't want to, add a bunch of more stuff. That was something I wanted to know and had to go on to back of pack and read the ingredients to find out.
And it's probably right here. Cool. Okay. What do we got here? Camino. Yeah, so this, I'm super intrigued by the illustrations and the kind of interesting stuff going on in the background. I don't feel like I understand quickly what differentiates this brand, and also I'm not really getting a sense of a clear personality in this one exactly. But I don't think it's I think it's going in the right direction. I think it's got some interesting stuff going on. Any feedback, Danielle, to add to that?
No, I agree.
For me, as a chocolate lover, that this packaging really calls out that it's going to be some dark chocolate. That's my 2 cents,
sure.
which isn't of much value, but
yeah,
that is a total value. You are a consumer. You have the most valuable feedback.
Okay, good. I do consider myself a chocolate expert.
Jerk sauce. Okay, we should look at this one and this one because there's another one too. I love the colors. I love the boldness. I think the copy is super fun on this one. I love the way the claims are organized on one side, so it's really easy to get through, but they don't really contribute too much to any like clutter. The one call out I would have is, what's the brand? Because jerk sauce is great, but there's other jerk sauce also out there, right? So if I was telling my husband to go pick this up at the grocery store, how do I tell him which jerk sauce to get? So I kind of feel like that's a bit of a missed opportunity.
Yeah, did you trademark jerk sauce? I can't imagine you can trademark jerk sauce, so maybe. But the other thing I want to call out is the romance copy on the, I guess, what is that, side panel, back panel? I think it's very confusing. So the brand is Waves Caribbean, or it's, I guess, and you don't, for me, hierarchy-wise, right, I guess the way it's colored, you think you would see Waves Caribbean first. I didn't. I saw jerk sauce. I like the ready-made Porn and Joy. I like your flames. That immediately tells me how hot it is. Family-owned is great. I turn it around because I am intrigued and I want to read the back. And I read, from the islands, Waves Caribbean was created from waves of generations, and I'm confused. Well, who's Waves Caribbean? I had to look. Oh, manufactured by Waves Caribbean. So all of this is just to say that I think you have a really strong brand here. I think that your story that you're trying to articulate with your romance copy back here is wonderful. I think it could be better articulated. I think it could connect more quickly and be clearer, and I would definitely, if in fact Waves Caribbean is the brand, I'm not sure how you've locked that up or how that is positioned, but I would definitely recommend having a brand, even if it's really small on the front of pack, and just re-articulating that copy to make it more connected with your consumer.
Okay. I think this is our last one. Vogue vinaigrette. So I think that this idea of the woman with the ingredients is fun, and I would just love to see it executed in a more simple, clear way, because right now there's so many claims going on the front of pack. There's so much clutter. It's a lot of stuff to read, right? And, maybe stronger branding, much less clutter, really focused claims, and maybe a really tight focus in on this kind of cool illustration idea would bring this thing to life. Anything to add?
I 100% agree.
I
really like the color.
Agree.
We do sometimes. Sometimes we argue, which clients tend to find charming. So I'm sorry that we didn't put on that show for you today. But I really like the color palette. I like the patterning on the whatchamacallit, which is a technical term, of course, and the cap, the wrap. Oh my goodness. But yeah, I agree with everything that Kelly said.
This would be a good example of moving some of those claims to the back, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Yep.
Well, we have gone over, and we were just so enthralled in our love of packaging. So we really have no time for questions. But here are our emails. So please email us your questions. We're happy to answer any that you have. If you're looking to get into some certifications, you've got Lauren and I as contacts. And if you need some help with your packaging, design, brand essence, Danielle and Kelly are here for you too. I have questions that were in the chat box, and I will respond to those via email. And again, please email me any other questions you have. We're very happy you joined us today. It was a really great turnout. Love the people that submitted their packaging, and we look forward to joining up again.
Thank you, everybody. It was a pleasure.
Thank you.
Look forward to hearing from you.
Thank you.